do not reflect those of the station.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. I am your host, Buddy Kunanan. You know, folks, we Filipinos are very well known for being hospitable, for our friendliness and our warmth as a people. And though thousands and thousands of foreigners have come to the Philippines and fallen in love with the country and made the land their home, unfortunately, there are also not a few foreigners with some sad and unfortunate stories to tell. Stories about abuse and corruption and extortion. And so tonight, we are going to talk to a very distinguished guest about this topic, and as we explore the darker side of foreigners' experiences here in this country. Joining us is Mr. Alfred Lehnert, and he is the chairman of the Foreign Assistance Center, and also he was invited as the immigration drafter to Congress by presidential advisor, then presidential advisor Dato Morong, and he is also an engineer, and he studied international law. And he's doing a lot of good work to help foreigners here in the Philippines. Good evening, Herr Lehnert. Guten Abend und willkommen zu meiner Fernsehsendung.
Guten Abend.
Ja, aber leider müssen wir auf Englisch sprechen. Meine Fernsehsendung ist auf Englisch. Nur auf Englisch.
Mostly I forget already my language and speak mostly English.
Yes, so I'll greet you now in English. Good evening, Herr Lehnert, Mr. Lehnert, and
evening,
welcome
sir.
to my program. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now, Herr Lehnert, let's talk about your background. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Like you say, many people come here to love the country. I also settled down with my previous wife in Cebu. Came here with, let me say, mid-40 and enjoy life based on sickness and something like this. But after 1 year, I was arrested from the immigration for unknown reason, and I was detained for total of 18 months. And I won in all court levels, and I was the victim from extortion, what I present in my previous documentary film in Deutsche Welle, DW-TV, what was approved by the executive for a big amount of money to open just the door. But I fought until Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ordered my release in 2004 from arbitrary detention without any legal basis.
So you were detained for 18 months.
Yes, sir.
And what was the reason? What was the cause?
Until now, the official make a fabrication that I'm an undesirable alien. But an undesirable alien mean not welcome, need a legal procedure, and the legal procedure was never done because I was never talking to anybody in a provision of due legal process. What is your constitutional right?
How did you come to be detained? I mean, they came knocking at on your door one evening, or was it the airport that you were apprehended? How did you?
No, sir.
Get
when every foreigner must update the visa, so
Okay.
also me, and so in the time I wished to update my visa or for several other visa questions, I went to the Bureau of Immigration in Cebu and was locked up immediately.
Wow! So you went there for a routine,
Yes.
a routine visa process.
Yes.
And when you got there, they said you're an undesirable alien, and then they just slapped the cuffs on you.
The agent of arrest, they say nothing because they see only a piece of paper, you call it mission order, to evaluate your immigration status. But the paper mission order don't say to arrest, only to evaluate if you do something wrong or not. And so they lock me up, and later I hear after my lawyer, Dean Alex Monteclar in Cebu, filed immediately a habeas corpus case, what was decided in my favor, that I'm there in their counter affidavit an undesirable alien. And so that is the surprise. But the RTC decide on my favor, order my release, but the immigration asked money to open the door, but I did not pay, and so they appeal. And immigration law is when when you are detained
Shocking.
and they are appeal,
Yeah.
you stay detained until the final ruling.
Shocking, shocking. No, we'll come back to your sad experience in a bit, but let's talk about first your role now. I mentioned that you're the chairman of the Foreign Assistance Center.
Yes.
What is the Foreign Assistance Center?
Foreign Assistance Center is specialized on immigration law, immigration rules, law and procedure, because I was, after I was released, 1.5 years later, I was invited from the Committee of Justice as immigration law drafter for the new immigration law to infuse some European standards to have more security to foreign tourists and investors to attract those. And that was the reason of course, I accept this position pro bono, and I become then a consultant to law office lawyer as interpreter, because no lawyer has studied immigration law. And when foreigners in trouble with immigration-related cases, they accept it, but they cannot help.
Yes.
And
yes.
so the immigration is the, let me say, the uncrowned leader in immigration proceeded cases, because they have no opponent, no lawyer of the foreigners.
Yes,
and so this I announced with the Foreign Assistance Center, that I will stand for the rights and the foreigners, only to explain the implementation of the rightful immigration law.
Okay. Okay.
And not how it is being used, because nobody can evaluate immigration law, in fact, for the client.
Yes. Now, okay, this Foreign Assistance Center, is this a government office? Is this what is the nature of this operation?
No, the Foreign Assistance Center is a private organization.
Okay.
I'm the founder several years ago. It is registered in the office of the SIG, and we have a preamble that we stand for foreign rights under Filipino law and immigration law, and we will submit any corruption, any illegalities to the Philippine authority until the president and until the Supreme Court. And this is what I do.
So it's an NGO?
Not an NGO. It is an incorporation for other reasons, but we will transfer that later to an NGO.
Now, who funds the Foreign Assistance Center?
It was myself.
So,
And
very jealous of you, Mr. Leonard.
It was myself, because when you are allowed to win in Supreme Court, a president's case, what has law advisory to the immigration, and when you are later the special consultants to 2 immigration commissioners to hear the voices of the victim for the balance of justice to be rightful arrested or deported,
Yes.
you have a big position. It is like
Of course.
something unusual come true, because I found no lawyer who could do this position. And so everybody, even my good friend Cardinal Vidal, say, you was allowed. He appeared in the DW TV worldwide, and he say, you was allowed. Cardinal Vidal's word. I speak it in El Shaddai later.
Yes, yes.
You was allowed to win in Supreme Court. Now you teach our country what is justice. And so I say, yes, my Holy Father, I will.
What services does the Foreign Assistance Center extend to foreigners? Can any foreigner in trouble approach your center, approach your organization and ask for help and request assistance? What kind of help can they get?
No, help is especially we handling immigration laws.
Okay.
Immigration proceeding, deportation, but we assist also through our lawyers, some visa application, some whatever, investors visa, 9G, 47, this is also special investors visa or PESA visa. But we do that with some other people. Our specializing is immigration law, deportation, and help the foreigners. They are unlawful proceeded under our preamble, what is registered in the SIG. And that is what we do already since many years.
No, it's a good service, because, you know, I mean, not every foreigner who comes to the Philippines has good connections like you in this country. I mean, a lot of them come to this country and they don't know anyone, and then perhaps they have some problems with immigration and they have no one to turn to. But I'm happy that there is this organization of yours that helps them.
Now, recently, based out of my Supreme Court winning and my appointment as immigration law drafter, the international media have view my service, and they publish what I have done or achieved. And so I could make 3 international films and several other international media where it was voiced out that the government work now for a little bit more security, because people like the commissioner, whom I am assisted, hear the voices of the victim for due legal process. And that is the reason international media, you can see that in YouTube or my website, aired these films, but it was approved by the executive, because it contained executive law, what is the law of a sovereign state.
Yes. Now, let's talk about your experience. Okay, you were locked up for 18 months, and it said no reason, no grounds, they just threw you in detention. Is this kind of experience, is this commonplace? Does this happen a lot? Or is this one of like, or are these instances few and far in between?
You know, when you're a foreigner, you have not learned Asian culture. And Asian culture is totally different than American or European culture. You do the same what you do there or there, where you're a citizen. I did the same wrong, because I was a little bit like everybody foreigner is. And so you become a victim of greed, of jealousy, or your partner hate you, make a complaint, or just want to overtake your investment. And so only a little withdrawal of the guarantee of your visa on merit, 13A, or a complaint that you are an undesirable alien, or you file a case for under 9262 in violation, in fabricated violation against women and children, lock you up in immigration.
Wow. Now, interesting, you mentioned undesirable alien. What is an undesirable alien? It seems like a catch-all for many things. How would you define an undesirable alien?
Undesirable is not a common English word. Undesirable means not welcome. And not welcome is a general word.
Yes.
You can also say anti-Filipino, where in my time many foreigners was locked up to be anti-Filipino. But it is not a violation, not even a violation. And so, but we talk about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was the time when I visit with several attorneys, Bigotan, the detention center, what I call it is a prison. I found the same situation like 10 years ago. And that was, my heart was crying because I feel my own story. And I decided to be the interpreter or the assistant for the lawyer in immigration law.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about rights, because clearly what happened to you was terrible. You were detained for 18 months and actually no reason at all. I mean, there was no charge, nothing, and you were cleared of that. Now, what are foreigners' rights in the Philippines? I mean, as a foreigner, what are your rights? I mean, was this legal what they did to you?
No,
did you sue them? Did you file a case?
But you must distinguish between rights on paper and rights in reality.
Okay.
When you are in the hands of immigration, you are in the hands of the executive. And the power of the immigration commissioner is, I cannot read the entire book of immigration law because I have it outside, the immigration law and deportation procedure. But the immigration commissioner is allowed to arrest you, deport you, but not for investigation, only for deportation. But you can challenge his doing only in Supreme Court or in the office of the president. And so it means that you stay locked up in prison until the upper appeal will decide. And that can take months and need money. And so
even years.
Yes. You have the right on paper. When somebody do it wrong or illegal or with purpose, personal interest, you have to challenge that up. But it takes big money, big knowledge, and big time. And who want this?
For sure. I mean, as you mentioned, Supreme Court, Office of the President, how many people have access to these avenues of legal,
But that is the situation exact. There is some situation what is absolute illegal, but you can challenge that only in the top court with top lawyers and top money, office of the president would take time, but you feel in prison and you want to get out. You are married to a family, the family cry, and you appeal to your abusers. They will never help you. They will only cover their illegal act.
Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Let's rewind a little bit. Okay. We were talking about the grounds for them to, let's say in your case, detaining you, and they detain you for 18 months. And this thing was, it seems to be like they did it very easily, like it was kind of whimsical almost. I mean, it's not like me. You know, I'm a citizen. For me to be arrested, there's got to be a valid ground for them to arrest me. But in the case of a foreigner, apparently the grounds for detention are much flimsier, or maybe not as firm, perhaps.
No,
what do you say about that?
It is like I said, the normal court procedure is different.
Yes, yes.
The immigration has executive power.
Yes,
and this you must. No lawyer can really select this power. And when you are as foreigner, you have the same rights under the Constitution as under Article 1, with the same race, the religion, has all the same rights.
Okay.
But foreigners fall on special law.
Yeah.
And special law is advanced to normal law. And that's the reason when they do something illegal, you must challenge that in court. But you have no time. You sit in prison. You have no money.
You're detained.
And so my good friend Neil Cruz showed 10 years ago this.
De facto martial law is already here.
Because it is, he say here, this is one example of a de facto martial law silently creeping up on almost undetected. Because nobody in immigration can voice it out. Nobody can go to media because foreigners are guests here in the country.
There you go.
Yeah.
Being your presence in this country, like other foreigners, is not a right, it's a privilege.
That's correct.
So that being the case, different rules apply to you as opposed to me with regard to things like this, detention charges and
No, the only difference rules is what you exactly say. Your stay is a privilege and can, under immigration law, all the times revoked on valid grounds.
What are those grounds? I mean, is it discretionary? Is there a set list?
Whatever.
No, really.
Whatever.
No, what does that mean, whatever? I mean, is there a list?
Of course it's a list.
Yeah.
Of course it's a list. But when you are undesirable alien, when you're not welcome, you need a procedure like you need a complaint, what you are do, anti-Filipino or whatever, and then somebody decide you are arrested and you are deported based on this complaint. But without due legal process, without hearing, without anything.
Because you are an alien, because you are a foreigner.
No, based on your visa.
Yes, there you go.
They delayed your visa, invalidate your visa based on the complaint. And so you are an undocumented. And so they produce their own reason.
Okay, I have another question.
Okay.
You said complaint. Let's say a Filipino, let's say lodge a complaint against you.
Yes.
What is the next step then? I mean, okay, let's say I go to the Bureau of Immigration, I have a gripe against you for whatever reason, I make a complaint against you, Mr. Lehner. What is the next step after that? What happens?
When you go under the rules of law.
Yes.
The rules of law is an hearing officer will send you a subpoena for a hearing when due legal process will be.
Okay.
And he will hear your side, and after 2 hearings, he will evaluate probable cause if you have committed the same under the legal court procedure.
Okay.
And so, in his recommendation to the board of the commissioner, he will say, yes, he will be deported or arrested or whatever his recommendation.
Wow.
But this recommendation is adjustable with opinion, with smile, with something. And so you never know what is the outcome.
Yes, of course. It's
because you don't know what is the power of the other side.
Of course, of course.
And so you can feel now how you feel as a foreigner.
Wow. So you guys are very vulnerable, huh? It's very discretionary, actually.
Now, when you
on the part of the immigration officer, he can really,
you know, when you are a foreigner, you have to be first humble. The second, you must integrate in Filipino law. We appear also now for foreigners in courts for crimes up to 12 to 15 years with our lawyers, of course, no? Because most of the cases in court are also fabricated. But here, when you are assisted, when you are allowed win in Supreme Court, as foreigner, you are a law drafter for your abusers law, immigration law, and you infuse a more European standard to make it more safe and consult two immigration commissioner. You deal already with politician, but I don't want it, but I cannot do anything. When you stand for law and your country, you have to be a stone. This is right and this is wrong, and this is what we are doing.
Okay, I have another question. This situation of foreigners in the Philippines, clearly very vulnerable to many factors. As is the status of your stay here, it's a privilege, it's not a right. Is this the same situation of foreigners, let's say, in other countries? Say, if I were to go to your country, to your home country, Germany, would I be in the same pickle that you would be here?
Also, my friend Neil Cruz wrote in this time that he raised the question why OFWs in foreign countries are not fairly handled. Because, and he answered himself, because we don't treat our foreigners here fairly. It's a voice what you really can take on this place, and this might be also the answer. We must recognize that we have to integrate here in law and orders, and we have not the same rights because you stand under executive law.
For sure, for sure. I think like any foreigner in another country, must really be extra careful.
It is when you go to for example, to my country, Germany, or to Switzerland, or whatever, Great Britain. We have a total different justice system. The provision of probable cause we don't have. Probable cause mean when the Supreme Court determinate probable cause, it means the fiscal or the prosecutor has the strong opinion that this crime might be committed. That means probable cause. In our countries, we have fact-finding. And fact-finding means here is evidence solid.
That's the
here
big
is
difference.
DNA. Here is something like an affidavit. What is an affidavit? And written note with a notary stamp where everybody can write everything. And fact-finding show evidence and solid proof.
It seems that here, it really is just on the basis of mere suspicion. One can really land, as a foreigner, one can land in a lot of hot water on the basis of mere suspicion. I mean, in your country, you said it's more fact-based, more evidence-based.
It's nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible because fact-finding will avoid that fabrication take place. And fabrication in court and immigration, or I hate my husband when he has investment, or I want...
You have to prove it. I mean...
Here not.
Here
because
not.
Here is probable cause take place, and probable cause mean that the hearing officer believe that this crime or this complaint was happened, and this opinion can be manipulated with everything.
For sure.
I mean, I don't have to express more.
For sure. And that just says that the hearing officer really has a lot of power in his hands. Huh? I mean, he almost literally holds your life in his hands when he has your case.
This is, because it was already, I think, 65 years ago, a Supreme Court Justice Perfecto wrote to change the immigration law because the immigration, I can show that also here in a camera, that the immigration officials has the absolute power and discretion about bail, arrest and deport. What you can challenge only in office of the president or in Supreme Court. And this fact is 65 years old, the law, and I was trying this as law drafter to update it that the Philippines is global competitive.
Yes. Herr Leonard, unfortunately, we have to pause for a break.
Okay.
But guys, don't go away because more of Bureau of Immigration and the foreigners' plight here in the Philippines when Philippines Uncut returns. Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. I'm Buddy Kunana. Tonight's topic is very convoluted, very interesting, and very controversial. Foreigners for freedom. And still joining us is Herr Alfred Leonard, who is an expert in immigration law in the Philippines and the chairman of the Foreign Assistance Center. And joining him is Joey Lomeco, who's the wife of a Bureau of Immigration detainee. So welcome back, Herr Leonard, and of course, Joey, to our second segment. Okay, let's pick up from where we left off. It's really quite shocking for me and very surprising and bordering on disbelief here that such power can really rest in one agency, almost dictatorial power, almost complete and absolute power over the lives of foreigners here in the Philippines. And I mean, the thing is, so few Filipinos know about this outside your circles, and I'm just shocked that more of my countrymen have not been, as enraged or as outraged as I am about this situation.
The situation is...
I feel for you. I feel for you guys.
I make 3 international films. They was aired in 200 countries with the approval. I make media because I was allowed to win in Supreme Court. And a foreigner as law drafter for the new immigration law and consulted 2 immigration commissioners is a very rare fact. And so my last film, Our Men in Manila, in YouTube, and so I assisted to free seven foreigners from detention from Bicutan prison for simply charges overstay, or even Philippine retirement members, they was charged for undocumented, total unlawful. Because they are documented, they are member of the Philippine Retirement Authority.
Okay, you spoke about the Bureau of Immigration Detention Center in Taguig.
Yes, sir.
Usually, what are the charges? What are the offenses of the foreigners there who are staying there? You mentioned visa. I mean, let's say overstaying their stay in the Philippines. Maybe I'm sure there are other people. I mean, I'm sure there are foreigners there who have been involved in some. Let's put it this way, nefarious activities.
There are direct violations. You must distinguish direct violation and indirect, or court convicted related cases. Direct violation is overstay, working without visa, or arrested in flagrante.
Okay, so overstaying and working on a visa, that can land you in the detention center.
Yeah, but only the proceeding from the previous DOJ Secretary Raul Gonzalez 7 years ago, he invalidated the office order from Andrea Domingo that overstay until 18 months, when you submit your body or whatever to the immigration, can be paid by fine.
Okay, so overstaying until 18 months, you can pay a fine.
But when you are working without visa and you have a business without visa, you will be arrested and deported because you violate direct immigration law. When you are convicted in court from a criminal case, whatever, you will serve first your sentence and then immigration will deport you. And that is the procedure of Bicutan, that they detain everybody.
But isn't this a situation in other countries? If I went to America and I worked without a visa and they caught me, the NIS caught me, then I would be in the same jam as well.
That is the other reason they call me that I infuse several European standards. And these are similar with the American standard, because the immigration will visit you, say you have 5 months overstay.
Yes.
I give you 1 month or 1 week to update your visa, but not thrown in prison. That will, my good Ninong, Senator McSaysay, told when he implemented a bill in Senate that time, the immigration is the first touch to foreigners, and the day immigration set their reputation for the country. But this is shameful what the immigration sometimes said.
Yes, yes. Oh man, okay, okay. Let's talk about the present situation in immigration. You mentioned the detention center, but then you also called the jail.
Yeah,
I mean, jail would connote an actual prison where people are being held in confinement because they violated a law, or
first of all,
convicts.
Yeah. First of all, I like to mention that I was approving Secretary Lima to put our FAC for valid prevention to tell foreigners how to do, what to do in the website of the immigration. And so we was for 5 years appearing in immigration homepage, Foreign Assistance Center,
yes,
what is now here seen, and to give valid information how to live here, how to handle problems. And we pick up 50 to 60 phone calls and make pro bono these legal advices, but for unknown reason we was delayed it 6 months ago from the immigration website.
So you were removed from the immigration website after being there for years?
Yes, for 5 years.
Yeah.
The present situation in the immigration detention center, what I would call prison, because it's in lock-up and not in detention center what we see in the Western world. We received 15 to 18 phone calls from family members of detained foreigners, and so we went with 2 lawyers to the detention center in Bicutan and hear the voices of the detainees, and honestly my heart was crying. I was set down 10 years ago because people was detained for a short while overstay, what the previous DOJ secretary already allowed
until
and invalidated until 18 months.
Yeah.
There was people detained for allegation, investors with the highest investors quota visa. There was an old man from the UK arrested that his wife withdrew her guarantee to his 13-8 visa, and he was thrown in prison. And there was tourists for 2 weeks overstay. In
2 weeks overstay?
In Bicutan, tourists.
2 weeks overstay?
Can this attract
Holy.
any investor and any embassies?
I was going to ask you, okay, what about the embassy? I mean, usually if I'm in the jam overseas, I mean, if I ever got in the jam overseas, I'd call the embassy. Likewise, I'm sure they would call the embassy, their embassy.
The embassy,
what can they do?
Under the international law of diplomacy, the embassy cannot interfere in legal and privacy. And so the embassies take only a note, and they advise their citizens not to come to the country. And it will downgrade, the immigration downgrade the reputation of the country in attract tourists. And more fun in the Philippines, like the president do,
yes, yes,
is just with the situation, who feels safe at tourist when he has 2 weeks overstay and end up, I mean, he can make longer vacation, but in Bicutan.
Yes. 2 months, 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the case of Joey's husband. Tell us about what landed Mr. Lomeco in detention/jail, as you call it.
Mr. Lomeco, the wife sit next to me, landed in jail because of his pending criminal case. He has a fabricated pending criminal case in Manila, where somebody accused him of has done anything wrong. But in the provision of presumption of innocence, anybody is only guilty when he is ruled guilty.
Yes.
And when you post bail, you cannot be arrested from the immigration for investigation. That is a violation of Supreme Court ruling and constitutional right, Article 2.
Yes.
And that is the reason, on documents, he is on overstay.
Yes, yes.
And overstay, he is overstay, but we learn overstay is a payable offense, that he can pay his fine. But he received, based on the wife's information, in summary deportation order, that he is now deported based on allegation that he has a pending case. And this is the highest part what I can imagine as a law drafter of Philippine immigration law as illegal.
Okay, so he has a criminal case against him. He has charges against him, and he posted bail.
Yes.
So he posted bail, and correct me if I'm wrong. He should be his violation wasn't an immigration violation. I mean,
I can honestly say that OIC, also the acting commissioner Mison, according to Attorney Dino, because I cannot speak fluent Tagalog, he admit in GMA News that Mr. Lumeko is jailed for his pending case.
But see, I go back there again because they consider him, as they did you, an undesirable alien. That's how they categorized him.
No.
What is the reason?
No, an undesirable alien is a difference fact.
Yeah.
And you are only not welcome when somebody say you are shouting to the people, you are not without respect.
But that's my point. It's a big gray area. So the case officer can say, you know, the mere fact that you have a case against you in criminal case in court, even if you are presumed under the law, presumed innocent, right, until proven guilty. But the mere fact if I'm the case, I can say, correct me if I'm wrong, I can say that, you know, the mere fact that you have a case against you, you're undesirable. Can I say that?
No, undesirable. You are only when the BOC declare you to be deported as undesirable alien.
Yeah.
As undesirable alien, you need to have a procedure that your voice is heard because somebody complained, not a court.
Okay, got it.
This is a total different remedy. And so his case is somebody accused him, fabricated on something, he post bail
and
is proceeded.
Yeah.
And the immigration pick him up in prejudgment, and this is illegal. This is arbitrary detention.
Wow.
I have cases from Filipinos, they was tortured abroad. I have cases here. I am a lawyer or the counsel or the legal advisor for Filipinos. I have cases proceeded in ICC.
Yes.
International Criminal Court.
Yes.
Because as I study beside my engineering, international law before, that arbitrary detention in her case, in her husband's case, illegal deportation like we see here, and persecution, deprive on your basic right, are crimes against humanity. And crimes against humanity committed from immigration officials, for whatever reason, they must be immigration lawyers to determine the validity.
Okay, let's go back to the case of the husband. Okay, so he was picked up, and that was the reason given, that he has a charge, a pending criminal case, and that's why they're picking him up. I mean...
No, when I finally can explain that,
please.
You have an order like this, it's stand mission order. To let me say, to investigate or if your stay is valid or you have committed anything.
Yes.
But with this mission order, they put you in jail.
Yes. In detention, jail.
In detention.
Okay.
And so, after you are in detention, the laws say whatever you do, when you win, for example, habeas corpus and RTC, and the immigration appeal, you will stay detained. And so you must file it until Supreme Court, until you are released. That is executive power.
So you could be freed from, I mean, you could be cleared of the charges in court and still be detained in immigration.
Yes.
Even if you are cleared by the court of the original charge.
Yes.
Wow.
Because the court proceeding will not exclude immigration law, and the immigration law has the final say.
Wow.
And this is, it must be to the knowledge of not only one people, because foreign investors are the treasure for our economy.
This is scary, huh? If I were a foreign investor, I'd be scared to come here, because then you're very vulnerable.
Who can explain that?
I mean, it really is, it's something that you have to sit down and talk to a gentleman like yourself to understand what's going on.
I was blessed to get this knowledge by my own experience. And I proceed 800 cases, immigration cases, and I freed recently 104 foreigners from prison.
Yeah. Joey, what's the status now of your husband? I mean, how is he? What's happening with him in the detention center / jail, as Herr Leonard calls it?
Yeah, it's true. It's a jail for them because like the area hygiene is not good, smelly, a lot of garbage inside, and then it's like a small room, 4 people sleeping there, and then there's like a skin disease going on there. So problem this in BID also, like they're not allowing the detainee to see a doctor.
Really?
Yes. And
Maybe because they have no doctor. No.
but
I mean, let's say if you brought a doctor and said, okay, I want my husband to see a doctor, and you bring your own physician, would they not allow your husband to see that
I haven't
physician?
experienced that,
Yeah.
but some of the detainee experience this different one that they want to go to the doctor and then they don't allow it. I mean, to go to the hospital, you know, to their, you know, for their situation to heal whatever, you know,
Yes.
what they're suffering.
How long has your husband been in detention already?
5 months. Yes.
Is there light at the light at the end of this tunnel for him, Leonard? What's
When
going
we
on?
recognize this resolution, it means resolution, her husband will be deported.
Yes.
Even he is under the family code.
On what grounds? Deported on what grounds?
We will not
Overstaying.
discuss about this because what appear here in the deportation case, he is deported for slight overstay, and he is married to a Filipina, what appear as family code, and the DOJ secretary say the overstay for a short while is a minor violation.
Yes.
It is nothing as a criminal to thrown in prison and
Yes.
to be deported. And so we file or we
That's what
assist.
the DOJ secretary said.
Of course, no, that was his advice to proceed the immigration, because the immigration, the DOJ secretary is the supervising agency,
Yes,
Department
yes.
of Justice, over
the BI.
over the BI. And so he has to say, and he ordered that a minor violation as overstay for a short while is to pay with fine and not to thrown in prison.
Okay.
Point 1.
Okay.
Point 2 is that he is a married couple with a Filipina wife. This is, for me, in my and the opinion of the lawyer, a violation of the family code. And third, he cannot be arrested for a pending criminal case where he post bail and where the immigration officer admit that he is in prison for the pending case. And so I think you evaluate alone how you feel when
Yes,
you are a foreigner
Yes.
and you are here in the
Very
same
difficult.
situation.
Very difficult. Very difficult. Very difficult. Now, have there been any? We hear a lot of stories about corruption in these government agencies. Have there been overtures to the? I mean, can you say? Have there been overtures to your side? And people saying, okay, give us a little something, and maybe this whole thing will go away.
I think it is not the correct forum here
Yeah.
to talk about the internal procedure.
But it happens sometimes. Could you say? Do you know if it
It's
happens? or
happened
not?
since 60 years, since 70 years.
This kind of practice.
Because executive law and immigration, as I explained,
Yeah.
probable cause is the determination what the hearing officer and what the BOC believe you maybe have committed. And
Wow.
you know, any opinion, probable cause opinion, is to be manipulated or whatever.
Yes,
and so
yes.
you cannot pinpoint it what it is happened everywhere.
Difficult. What are your recommendations, Herr Lehner? How can you fix this problem? What are the recommendations that you would like to see, I mean, the reforms that you would like to see in place that would help foreigners, make this a more foreigner-friendly place?
I think the first and the urgent is to pray to the president that he maybe appoint an immigration lawyer as immigration commissioner who is really following presidential program as more fun in the Philippines or attract foreign investors and implement fairness for justice to attract the same, and not thrown like the husband of Joey or many other in prison. They can pay the minor violation with fine and the case is closed, and the Philippines show we are a safe haven and we determinate fairly foreigners here, and we assist them in their problems. Until now they don't assist them. You need a desk for assistance. But the prior is the president, and this is my prayer, should react urgently to appoint maybe a previous commissioner who has shown authority and shown that he is immigration lawyer, which was ranking 3 in the corruption level of the government, was the immigration in 2010, and not place number nearly the end.
Yes, but okay, good recommendations. What about in terms of structure of immigration? What kind of reforms would you like to see in the structure, in the way immigration is being is conducted here in the Philippines?
First of all, we have to reset probable cause to fact-finding. The second is the hearing officer must be reset by a group of hearing officers to avoid anything, any manipulation, modification, or self-service. And the third is that maybe I pray again to the president that he appoint his own presidential immigration advisor who grant the arrest and the deport finally of foreigners, that he has a little control function to his own program.
Yes, because again we go back to that mere suspicion, right? I mean, we go back to that practice. That really opens a lot of possibility for corruption, for abuse, because then it's something, as I said, it's something whimsical. It's something that's just determined by the person sitting on, by the case officer. It's very subjective,
That's the procedure since the immigration law took place in 1941.
Yes.
The immigration law was signed by President Roosevelt 70 years ago, more than 70 years ago, as martial law to the country. It was several times amended.
Yeah.
That was the reason under Commissioner Libanon, when he was congressman, we pushed through a new immigration act to reset all the executive orders, what give power, the amendments, and to have a really new act to be global competitive.
Yes.
And that is the reason every immigration employer, especially attorneys, should be trained for national interest and for presidential program, what is number 2, and assist foreigners and not throw them in jail.
Yes, for minor violations.
Yeah.
Anyway, Herr Lehnert, Joey, we've come to the end of our show, but 1 hour is definitely too short to cover a topic like this. And so we'll definitely have part 2 of this when you're available, and we talk about more, of immigration and what can be done to improve the system. And Joey, good luck to your husband. I hope that this case gets resolved quickly, and so that you guys can be reunited and he can have his freedom again. And Herr Lehnert, more power to you, sir. Good job, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so guys, I hope you enjoyed our show for today. Join us again next week here in the show where we talk about what matters to you, because you guys matter the most. I'll see you next week.
A fabrication that I'm an undesirable alien, but an undesirable alien mean not welcome, need a legal procedure. And the legal procedure was never done because I was never talking to anybody in a provision of due legal process. What is your constitutional right?
How did you come to be detained? I mean, did they came knocking at on your door one evening, or was it the airport that you were apprehended? How did you
No, sir.
get
When
detained?
every foreigner must update the visa, so
Okay.
also me. And so in the time I wished to update my visa or for several other visa questions, I went to the Bureau of Immigration in Cebu and was locked up immediately.
Wow! So you went there for a routine,
Yes.
a routine visa process.
Yes.
And when you got there, they said you're an undesirable alien, and then they just slapped the cuffs on you.
The agent of arrest, they say nothing because they see only a piece of paper, you call it mission order, to evaluate your immigration status. But the paper mission order don't say to arrest, only to evaluate if you do something wrong or not. And so they lock me up, and later I hear after my lawyer, Dean Alex Monteclar in Cebu, filed immediately a habeas corpus case, what was decided in my favor, that I'm there in their counter affidavit an undesirable alien. And so that is the surprise. But the RTC decide on my favor, order my release, but the immigration asked money to open the door, but I did not pay, and so they appeal. And immigration law is when you are detained
Shocking.
and they are appeal,
Yeah.
you stay detained until the final ruling.
Shocking, shocking. No, we'll come back to your sad experience in a bit, but let's talk about first your role now. I mentioned that you're the chairman of the Foreign Assistance Center.
Yes.
What is the Foreign Assistance Center?
Foreign Assistance Center is specialized on immigration law, immigration rules, law, and procedure. Because I was, after I was released, 1.5 years later, I was invited from the Committee of Justice as
Do not reflect those of the station.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. I am your host, Buddy Kunanan. You know, folks, we Filipinos are very well known for for being hospitable, for our friendliness, and our warmth as a people. And though thousands and thousands of foreigners have come to the Philippines and fallen in love with the country and made the land their home, unfortunately, there are also not a few foreigners with some sad and unfortunate stories to tell. Stories about abuse and corruption and extortion. And so tonight, we are going to talk to very distinguished.
came here with, let me say, mid-40 and enjoy life based on sickness and something like this. But after 1 year, I was arrested from the immigration for unknown reason, and I was detained for total of 18 months. And I won in all court levels, and I was the victim from extortion, what I present in my previous documentary film in Deutsche Welle, DW-TV, what was approved by the executive for a big amount of money to open just the door. But I fought until Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ordered my release in 2004 from arbitrary detention without any legal basis.
So you were detained for 18 months.
Yes, sir.
And what was the reason? What was the cause?
Until now, the official make
Guest about this topic, and as we explore the darker side of foreigners' experiences here in this country. And joining us is Mr. Alfred Lehnert, and he is the chairman of the Foreign Assistance Center, and also he was invited as the immigration drafter to Congress by presidential advisor, then presidential advisor Dato' Morong. And he is also an engineer, and he studied international law, and he's doing a lot of good work to help foreigners here in the Philippines. Good evening, Herr Lehnert. Guten Abend und willkommen zu meiner Fernsehsendung.
Guten Abend.
Ja, aber leider müssen wir auf Englisch sprechen. Meine Fernsehsendung ist auf Englisch. Nur auf Englisch.
Mostly I forget already my language and speak mostly English.
Yes, so I'll greet you now in English. Good evening, Herr Lehnert, Mr. Lehnert, and
Good evening,
welcome
sir.
to my program. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now, Herr Lehnert, let's talk about your background. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Like you say, many people come here to love the country. I also settled down with my previous wife in Cebu.